This is how money works. Jordan Peterson 8. Easily build your online profitable business with books. Bundle Wrestler. 0.1% of the general population has practically all of that money, and 1% of the people in the general population have an overwhelming amount of money. In that case, I believe that the top 100 wealthiest people in the world have the same amount of money as the 2.5 billion poorest people in the world. You may be thinking, well, that's a terrible thing, and it may be. However, what you need to realize is that the law in question determines the distribution of creative creation throughout all creative disciplines. We're going to go into further detail regarding this topic, which is similar to a natural rule. Monopoly, a model for wealth inequality. Try to picture what happens when you play the game of Monopoly. Every one of you has played Monopoly. When you play Monopoly, what would happen to you? A single individual winds up receiving all of the money. After that, you engage in yet another round of Monopoly. What takes place? A single individual winds up receiving all of the money. Because several deals are carried out randomly, this is essentially the unavoidable conclusion. If you take 1,000 individuals and convince them to participate in a trading game, you would provide each of them $100, for example, or $10, and they would be required to trade with another individual using a coin flip. The challenge of resource redistribution. It is a deeply ingrained characteristic of creative production systems, and no one knows what to do about it. Of course, the risk is that all of the resources will be directed toward a very small minority of people at the top, while a large portion of the population would be stacked up at zero. However, to attribute such to the oppressive nature of a certain system is to grossly underestimate the level of complexity that has been introduced into the situation. Nobody genuinely knows how to efficiently move resources from the minority that controls practically everything to the majority that has almost nothing in any consistent fashion. This is something that no one knows how to manage. When you put money down, it tends to rebound and move back up again. It is a significant issue. The universality of wealth concentration. When it comes to the 1% problem that you are constantly hearing about, the thing that you need to grasp is that it is applicable in every single field where there is a difference in creative productivity. There is no relevant information regarding the number of compositions written, the number of records produced, or the number of records sold. In the classical music repertory, for instance, 5 composers are responsible for producing 50% of the music. Therefore, this is yet another illustration of Price's law scaling. It applies to a wide variety of situations. Another way in which the amount of goals scored in hockey is allocated is as follows. Cities are distributed in the same manner about their sizes. The inevitability of wealth redistribution. The fact that 1% of the population possesses the great majority of the money, that 1% of the 1% possesses the majority of that money, and that 1% of the 1% possesses the majority of that money is a topic that is frequently discussed by individuals throughout the world. On the other hand, this is an unavoidable outcome of repeated trade games, and we're unable to find a way to combat it whatsoever. Taking something from those who already have it and placing it at the bottom without it immediately rising back up to the top is something that we are unable to do well. Although they may be different people, they are nevertheless able to return to the top. Even the 1% has a significant amount of turnover. The dynamics of wealth and success. The upper end is experiencing a significant amount of churning. The people who have all the money are not always the same. Rather, it is a very small percentage of the people who have all the money all the time. It is for this reason that I am informing you about that. After the peasants were given their land and began to become farmers, a very small percentage of them had a great deal of success. For Russia and Ukraine, these individuals were responsible for producing practically all of the food. Self-deception and financial mismanagement. If you are used to keeping things in the dark in general, you are going to continue to do the same thing about your investments. A portion of it can be measured in monetary terms, but regardless of the form it takes, you are always investing in some way or another. If your character has been harmed as a result of your repeated efforts to delude yourself about the nature of truth, you are going to be a financial train wreck. As a result of self-deceptive blindness, I have witnessed patients blow through sums of money that you would not believe they could blow through in such a short period. This is something that I have witnessed in my clinical practice. Traits influencing financial success. If you have a high IQ and you are also conscientious, which is another trait, then you have a greater chance of being financially successful by the time you reach the middle years of your life. In this culture at this time, those characteristics operate very well. Yet one could also argue that this is simply a question of chance. This is because there would not be people who are unconscientious if at some point in the past their lack of conscientiousness had not been beneficial to their survival. Multidimensional evaluation of success. To determine what constitutes beating a system, the parameters that you place around the system are being considered. Take a look at someone's level of success. You mean their financial success, right? So how is their state of health? Is their marriage going well? What kind of relationships do they have with their younger children? What do they have to pay to acquire their wealth? As more aspects of evaluation are taken into consideration, it may become less obvious whether a certain individual was victorious or unsuccessful. Misconceptions about poverty and money. The notion that poverty is brought on by a lack of financial resources is widely held in our society. This is a pretty ridiculous notion given that managing financial resources is a highly challenging endeavor. My clients were addicts, and the worst thing that could have happened to them was that they received some money. I had clients that were addicted to addiction. Just now, they'd have finished. They were hanging around with individuals who were a bit on the sociopathic side, and if they weren't that intelligent and couldn't defend themselves very well, as soon as they received money, it was off to the bar with all their friends. Regarding a particular individual, I recall that after he received his disability check, he would be absent for 5 days, because he would go to the bar, spend every cent he had on drink, and then wake up in a ditch 3/4 dead, eventually entirely dead. We would typically find him in a ditch. After that, he felt humiliated, terrified, and contrite, and he could straighten himself up once more. That was all fine and dandy up until the time that the subsequent check arrived, and then, all of a sudden, the same thing again. Challenges of managing money. To say that having money is always beneficial to everyone is an understatement. Keeping track of one's finances can be challenging. It would not be difficult at all for it to vanish. The fact that con artists are constantly reaching out to elderly people via the internet is making their lives quite difficult at the moment. When you simply give them money, it is the same as pouring water into their hands. There is no guarantee that it will be useful. The role of IQ to poverty. The fact that people with low IQs are contributors to poverty is not a desirable thing. Because it appears to be so arbitrary, people do not appreciate the concept of IQ. If you possess a high IQ, to be honest, it's not like you deserve it exactly. You've been positioned in such a manner pretty much from the very beginning. To put it simply, it is quite stable. It is possible to make a person with a high IQ more stupid by not educating them to the level of their potential. On the other hand, if you take someone with a low IQ and try to enhance that IQ, you will be eligible for the Nobel Prize because such an endeavor has been attempted by a great number of individuals. Since our culture is becoming more advanced, this is not something that should come as a surprise. Different perspectives on unemployment. Well, this society is unfair because there is unemployment. The liberals think and the conservatives think, well, there is a job for everyone. But none of them think, well, there are massive differences in people's ability, far greater than anyone realizes. And those are the kinds of things that result in a structural problem. We are grateful that you watched our video. If you enjoyed watching this video, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe to our channel on YouTube and click the bell button.